I'm just going to jump. Oh, great. So I'm going to jump right into Flex MLS here, and we're going to start using the product. Now, to access aligned showings, you can access it in all of the same places that you can currently access showing time. So you'll see that within my main menu here, right under the daily functions heading where I have showing time, you'll now see aligned showings. Also, if I am looking at a listing in the MLS that is using aligned showings, hey, right under the details tab here, right where you're used to seeing showing time, you'll see aligned showings. Now, aligned showings is a product that we created in-house. It is created and owned by ARMLS and MLS Aligned. It's just a group of MLSs in the country that pooled together for these resources, like creating a showing platform. Now, I don't think it's really any secret as far as to who owns a showing time. Now, they are a competing brokerage, and that didn't really sit well with us to kind of give them fair advantage and use a product that one of our brokerages uses. So we created this product an even playing field. We also have a lot more freedom to change things and implement changes that you guys think are really important and needed within the system. So I just wanted to get that out of the way as far as why is aligned showings here. We don't have any kind of date as far as when showing time might be going away. We do expect it to replace showing time down the line, but we just don't have an exact date on that at the moment. So for the time being, there is going to be a little bit of juggling, some balancing on using those two different showing services, but we're really depending on listing agents to adopt this service so that everyone can get on board with that new showing service sooner rather than later, and it'll be less of a struggle for everyone else balancing the two. So the first kind of difference that I want to point out is that every listing agent can choose a showing service per listing. Now, you can't use both at the same time for each listing. You can only choose one or the other. So you'll see, for instance, this listing, I have the option for aligned showings in the upper right here. That's a really kind of my first indication to see, okay, are they using aligned showings or are they using showing time? Another indicator is down here at the bottom, right above where you have the listing agent information. There's all of your showing instructions just to say, yes, they do want permission to access the property or not. But there's this new field. I know it's kind of small on the screen here, but it's called a showing service field. And it just asks, hey, do you want to use aligned showings? You might see, hey, this one is a showing time. So I can see showing time here. I don't see it in the upper right corner just because my screen is a little bit smaller, but it's in the more option where I can see showing time. Otherwise, you might see some scenarios where the listing agent said, as far as a showing service, they just want to call or a text or an email. They don't want to use any kind of a showing service. They maybe keep a paper calendar. So you're not going to see any kind of showing service for that particular listing. So just keep in mind that it's really all based up to the listing agent on their preferences and what they choose. That's why it's very dependent on listing agents to adopt this new product of aligned showing so everyone can get on board. So I'm going to go to one of the listings here that are using aligned showings, and I'm just going to request a single one-off showing. I will show you how to create a tour of multiple showings, but for now, I just want to do a one-off appointment. So I'm going to click aligned showings in the upper right. And much like showing time, it's going to take me into the product where it's going to have me choose the date and time and etc. So here I can choose the date of my showing. Maybe my client said, oh, Wednesday, early morning, I'll be free. Okay, well, let's do Wednesday. And they said early morning, maybe they said, 11 o'clock, they'll be free. And the appointment duration is over to the right where I can select, maybe it's only going to be 15 minutes in there. Maybe we're doing like a full 45, who knows? Now, this time page is kind of broken up into two different panels or columns, so to speak. There's the main column in like the center or the left, and then this column on the right. So the one in the middle, this is kind of goofy here. So you'll see the one in the middle is actually for your other showing appointments. So this is kind of just in the background to say, hey, you can't be in two places at once. You already promised a client that you would show a property at that time. Okay, so that's just a reminder to say, hey, you already have a showing at that time and that date. Now, this column on the right, even though it matches, which is a little bit goofy, and this column on the right shows any restrictions for that particular listing. So maybe there was another showing at that time, which it might be that situation. Maybe it was a scenario of, well, the seller doesn't want anyone coming in their property before 9 in the morning. So in that case, you would see it blocked off on the right. So this page, you'll see any restrictions as far as your showings on the left or any showings for the listing on that right side. So let's go to the next page, and this is just an optional message. You don't have to enter anything. Again, it's optional. Maybe my client has like a service animal, and I just want to say that a service animal will be present. Is there a right or wrong way to do this? Do I have to enter that? No, but maybe I just want to be courteous and transparent and let the listing agent know. So I'm going to send off this request, and this is going to take me into the messages area, which is the main kind of communication hub and organization tool for all of your showing appointments. Aligned Showings also has a mobile app. So if you want to download the app on your iPhone or Android, it is in the App Store, and you can access it easily from there as well. So you can always start a new showing appointment from FlexMLS. I think that we're all kind of used to starting in FlexMLS for most things. Before I get too deep into this messages area here, I do want to go over it, but I just want to let you know that if you happen to already be in aligned showings, like maybe you are on the mobile app, you can request a new showing right from here. So if you have the address or MLS number, you can type it in. I'm just going to choose one of our test listings way out in Yuma here. So if I have a listing that I want to show, very similar, I can just click schedule showing, choose my date, my time. Maybe they say, I don't know, 3 o'clock for 15 minutes. That's all we're planning on being in there for. Lastly, that optional message, and send it away. I did get a quick message in here for, is it always going to be on the half hour? For instance, a 10:15 start time. That's a great message, or a great question. So I will point out that as far as the duration goes, as far as, hey, we're gonna spend 15 minutes in there, 30 minutes in there, that's kind of like a 15-minute time frame duration. But as far as when you can start or stop the appointment, I mean, you could technically start the appointment at 10:04 and end at 10:19 if you wanted to. So it is a very exact and very specific. So it's not going to automatically default to like a 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30. You can get very, very specific within there.
Hey, Natalie, there's a question to me directly. Can I read it to you?
Oh, sure.
Yep. Can we still request overlapping showings with this new service?
That's a great question. So it's up to the listing agent. So the listing agent may say, oh yeah, I can have multiple people in my property at once, or they may say, I really just want one person in at a time. So that's a great question. Also some others with, in order not to get behind with showings, it can be helpful to request overlapping appointments. Yeah, absolutely. So if that's kind of your organization, your flow of to do things, to say, oh, well, we might show up at this new appointment early because we finished at the last one early. You can overlap. That's totally up to you. It's not going to restrict you from doing so. It's just kind of a reminder in the back to say, hey, you can't be in two places at once. Just making sure you know that there's another appointment at this time. Also the question of what if you use a showing agent? Can you double book for them and or do they have to schedule the appointment? I love your question, Rob. I'm actually going to kind of address that in this next section. Aligned showings is really great with collaboration. So if you have others in your office that help you with showing appointments. Maybe you have like a specific showing agent. Maybe there's a transaction coordinator that you want to be involved with these requests. Absolutely, that's definitely an option. Um, let's see here. Is it going to be one or the other, showing time or aligned showings? Good question. So as far as the listing agent goes, you can only choose one service per listing. Now, if you wanted to make it complicated on yourself and you had like 4 listings, you could say, oh, I'm going to use aligned showings for 2 of them and then showing time for the other 2. Again, that might make things a little bit more complicated, a little bit cumbersome. If you wanted to maybe just switch over one of your listings to aligned showings for now, just to kind of dip your toe, get a feel, that's totally an option. Any of your current listings are not going to change. So whatever your directions and your showing instructions are currently, they're just going to stay the same. But if you did want to switch over, I'll show you how to do that. It's very easy. But yeah, it's going to be just one or the other per listing. To log into the app, is it the same credentials? Yes, so it's the same credentials that you use for Flex MLS. Whatever you use to log into the MLS with, same credentials. Is there a replay of this webinar? It's hard to see on a cell phone. Yes, I think Kelly is recording the webinar.
Yes, I am, and I'll send it out to everybody.
Great, great. If the listing agent is using showing time, can the buyer's agent schedule through aligned showings? That's a really good question I'm going to actually get to within the routes area, which kind of goes over scheduling multiple appointments. So I will get to that in a moment. And then I'm a little late to the news. Why do we have to go away from showing time? Oh, is it going to be paid? So that's a great question. So aligned showings is automatically included in your MLS subscription. You don't have to pay for it. As long as you have access to the MLS, you have access to aligned showings. We're really intending on having it replace showing time because showing time is owned by a competing brokerage. That just doesn't really sit well with us. So we wanted to create a product that we have control over, and it makes an even playing field. So we're not favoriting any specific brokerage of ours. All right, so now that I have scheduled a single showing, I'm in the messages area, and you'll kind of see that there's actually been some activity in here as we've been answering some questions. But when I first sent the request, it basically just sent this message that said, hey, Natalie requested to see the property at this date and this time. Now, I did get an instant message from the listing agent that just said, test. It's just one of my coworkers here doing some testing, but it just said an instant reply of test. Maybe they decided to say something like, hey, thanks for your interest in showing, who knows? But that doesn't mean that it's confirmed. It does mean that, it's still pending. I still have to wait for their confirmation. However, I do see that just a couple of minutes later, they approved the showing request and they left some instructions to say, hey, there's a super lockbox on the property, but they do request me to call them first. I don't know. Maybe there's something weird with where the lockbox is. Maybe the back door has a weird kind of janky door handle where you got to jiggle it. Who knows? But you'll see that in the upper right corner, these are going to be all the people that are involved with this showing. So I have myself, that's going to be my team. And then I have the other members of the listing team. So I have Bernice here, but they have also added Anna Berta and Jensen to be involved with this showing. So that question from, I think it was, well, we had a question here. I'm so sorry, I forgot. I think it was Dan or Rob about involving others in here. So if I maybe have a right-hand man or maybe a showing agent, maybe a transaction coordinator that I want to be involved with this, maybe it's some kind of a situation of, oh, I know that I requested this, but something came up in my life and I can't make it. So, hey, person in my office, will you take my client to this showing? Sure, let's get them involved. So under my team, I can add anybody within my office. They can be an admin, it can be another agent, it can be your broker. As long as they have an MLS account, you'll be able to add them as a team member in here. So I'm going to add my right-hand man, Wendy, here. And you'll see that there is a note, like another message that gets notified to everyone in this thread that says, hey, Wendy has now been added to the conversation. So all the people on the listing team, they're in the loop. They now know that Wendy has been added to the conversation or has been added to this showing. And I can send a message to everybody. Maybe I decide to say, hey all, my team member Wendy is taking our client to this showing. So whatever kind of message that you want to send out to everybody, it's going to send it to every single person in this request. So the listing agent's going to get it, all of the co-listers or anyone that they have involved, and then Wendy's going to get this message as well. Now I can also add a team note. This is kind of like a message, but it's only visible to members of your team. So in my circumstance, only myself and Wendy are going to see this. Now the listing team, they can do the same thing and leave a team note that only their team will see. I don't know, maybe I decide to leave a message to Wendy that says, please remember to bring water for our client. It's hot out there. We want to make sure we have water. Maybe I say bring treats for Fido because they got a service dog. Who knows? So if I send a team note there, you'll see that it's in yellow. That's just to indicate that only you and your team can see that message. Now, all the details are showing on the right-hand side for the showing details. I see the members that are involved. I see the status to clearly see, okay, yes, this is still requested. I still need confirmation, or hey, it's now been approved. I can cancel it if needed, but I can also change the date and time. So I can really easily do this. Maybe it's last minute, it's Friday, and my my buyer calls me and they say, Fido, he's being a drama queen getting out of the house, and I just need to push this back another 30 minutes. We'll be there soon. Okay, well, if I need to edit it, again, let's just do something simple, just like a same date. Let's just change the time. Still like 30 minutes back. Right now it's 3 o'clock. Let's change it to 3:30. Still for 15 minutes, whatever the duration is, and let's send it off. So you'll see that, hey, it does send another message out to the listing members that says, I have changed the date and the time, and it is approval is still pending. So request is still pending. It's not confirmed yet. Nobody has said you are good to go. The previous time was good to go, but not this time. So I just want to make sure that I keep up to date with this request and I review all those details. Last thing on this page I'll point out is you do have team instructions. These are pretty similar to the team note, where it's only going to be visible to members of your team. However, it just always shows on this right-hand side. So I know that sometimes talking and communicating within this thread, it can get lost sometimes, just like a text message thread. It's hard to, scroll up and find some details that you're looking for. So if you want something to always stay on this right-hand side so that your team knows that it's just there as a reminder, absolutely keep it there as in a team instruction. Before I move on to the listing agent side of things, I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions. I do still, my answer is going to go over routes or how to schedule multiple showings. It's kind of like the equivalent of a showing cart. So still have that on the line, but I'm going to answer some questions in here. Is NAR switching to aligned or is staying showing time? That's a really great question. I know NAR, they kind of do back up showing time at the moment. Aligned showings is a pretty new product. We really hope that at some point they would love to adopt our service and promote us. Same as other MLSs throughout the country. I know that there are just a handful of MLSs right now using the product, so we would love for more people to adopt it. Is there anything that Align has that showing time doesn't have? You know, off the top of my head, there are just like some small things. I wouldn't say, yo, this is major. This has something crazy that, you know, showing time just doesn't have. Um, so off the top of my head, I can't say that there's anything big and major that showing time has that Align showing doesn't. Um, Now, it does have some nicer features, in my opinion. I think it looks a little bit better. I feel like showing time looks like it was created in like 2002 and it just sat there. It just never got updated. So I think that Align showing is a little bit nicer, but you'll see down the line as we go throughout a couple of other features. I think it's just a little bit more user friendly and it's just a lot better experience of a product to use. Can you use both showing time until completely phased out? Is there a phase out date set? No, there's really not. As far as showing time going away, we just haven't chosen any kind of specific date. Now we totally realize, especially if you are on the buyer side, it might be a little cumbersome, you know, trying to determine, okay, well, this listing agent wants to use Align showings, but this listing agent wanted to use showing time, and now I got to organize all my. We kind of have a solution, a roundabout way of doing it, but it's just a temporary thing. You know, we're not planning on using both showing services for the rest of time. We just don't have an exact date at the moment. Will you get a text message of confirm or cancel appointments like showing time? That's a great question. I do want to show you where you can set up that those settings in a little bit, but yes, much like showing time, you can just get a text or an email. We totally know that you're not very likely to have Align showings open and showing time open on a daily basis. That sounds crazy. So as long as you do have those notifications set up for like a text or an email, no, you just got to worry about your phone and you're good to go. Will Align still use Supra access? Yes, so Align showings does have the options for Supra and will allow, you know, you can enter a CVS code and all that information within the product here. A shout out if you're hilarious. Thank you so much. I try to keep it entertaining for you all. Can the seller be added as a listing team? I love this question. I'm definitely going to go over it in the My Listings area. You can add a seller, your owner, a tenant to be involved. Can you approve showings via text as the listing agent? Yes. So again, I'll show you all how you can set up those text or an email. Would be nice if it can show us which houses are closer to each other to schedule our routes. It does. So that'll be in the routes area coming up. More questions about text, push notification. Yes, if you have the app, you can absolutely get those push notifications as well. Can the co-listing go in and make changes to the showing settings? That's a good question. Yes, so anybody that is on your team, if you involve them as a team member, they kind of has all the access that you do. So they can communicate with anybody in this thread with the listing team. They can also leave a team note for everybody to see. They can change the team instructions, the date and time. They really have full control to manage the showing appointment just like you do. Have you gone over how it maps out the listings? Not quite. So hang out for the routes area. I'm a super user for a team and notice when looking at Align when using another's account, it keeps sending back to my own account. Yes, so if you are a member of a team, if you help out others with their transactions or their showings, I'll show you how to kind of be involved with all of their requests. It's a little bit different than if you are super using with Align with a showing time. Does it still auto-generate a feedback request? Yes, you can allow it to do that, and I'll show you how in the My Listings area. Can you attach documents so that they're automatically sent? You know, that's a great question. You can't actually attach anything to be automatically sent out. If you want to include something here, you can, but no, that's a great suggestion that I will show you where you can input that, because again, this is our product. We want to hear all that feedback so that we can implement these changes in the system to help you all out. So I'm going to go into my next area and I'm going to kind of flip it on over to the listing agent side of things now. So I kind of just showed you a one-off appointment as a showing agent. I still have the routes to go for multiple appointments, so hang on for that. But as far as the listing agent side of things go, I want to just kind of reiterate that your listings, nothing has changed. If you say that I like showing time, it's going to stay as showing time. If you like, a text or an email, it's just going to say, okay, you don't want to use any kind of online showing service. So if you have any current listing that you do want to switch over, all that you would need to do is edit your listing. And then if you go into, oh my gosh, this dreaded detail tab that is huge and massive and crazy. And I kind of know by the scroll bar here on the right that I'm looking for a little bit halfway down the page, a little further, and it's showing instructions. There's a whole little area for how you want this property to be shown. So let me find that. Gosh, here we go. So this has all of your instructions to say, hey, I want you to contact me or the owner. Yes, this is an occupied home. You need my permission to access it. There is this brand new field for your showing service. So it will just stay as showing time if you have showing time, or say none if you just have like a text or an email, whatever your preferred method is. But new listings going forward will default to aligned showings. Now, if you absolutely hate using an online showing service, you say text or an email till I die, you don't have to change this per listing. When you start a new listing, I would hate to change this every time if I didn't like the showing service. So you can go into your general preferences in the main menu, and there is an option where you can set your default showing service going forward. So if you're, ride or die showing time, you can save that for now until it goes away. So that's going to be your first step, is making sure that your listing has this saved within your FlexMLS account. Much like showing time, it can take, 5-10 minutes for it to save in FlexMLS and then transfer over. It's about 3 to 5 minutes for aligned showing, so it's a little bit faster of a turnaround time. But once that has happened, you'll be able to access it. And I'll go back to my edit listing page. So you'll be able to access it here. Again, just like showing time, we tried to make it very familiar so you can access it in all those same places. Or again, in the main menu, you can access it this way. But once my listing has been saved with that new option, I do want to go into aligned showings and make sure that all of my settings are the way that I want them set. So I'm going to go into the My Listings area, and these are all the listings that I currently have. I just have the one. So I'm going to click anywhere on this box, and this will show me all of the details of my showing. So this is a lot of different information. You can edit each section individually. So you'll see a little edit button by each section here, like time or date restrictions. Maybe my seller calls and they say, oh gosh, something came up, or, I want to get the carpets cleaned this date, this time, it's unavailable. If I want to jump right to that section, I can. However, I'm just going to go up to edit details at the top, and I'm going to go through each section one by one. So this first area is your kind of main overall settings for how you want these showings to be conducted. So first option, allow property to be shown. This button, I know you probably can't hear me clicking, but I'm clicking and nothing's changing. So you can actually change this here. This is dictated by that option in your listing in FlexMLS. So this is basically just asking, hey, do you want the property to be shown through aligned showings? Well, you already said, yeah, totally. I want to use aligned showings. If you don't and you want to switch this to no, you'll need to start in the root of where your listing is and say, oh, I want to use showing time or nothing at all. You can allow overlapping appointments. So that question of saying, hey, yeah, multiple people can show my property at the same time, or you know what, I want exclusive appointments only. You can choose a maximum appointment length. You can leave it as none if you so choose. You have two options on how the requests are handled, kind of like how showing time has, you need my approval, or they have kind of like that show and go option that says, oh, you're good to go immediately. Go ahead, have fun. I got that notification. That's fine with me. So I'm going to start with this require approval option. Maybe it's like an occupied property and the seller needs to get their dogs in the backyard before anybody comes. Who knows? So I can send an instant message to the agent, kind of like how, Bernice, she just said test. Well, I decided to say, thanks for your interest in showing. My typical response time is within like 2 hours. You can put in whatever you want in here, and it's optional. You don't even have to enter anything at all. If you don't want to, you can just have them send the request and just wait on you. That's totally fine. Lockbox access. So this is where you can indicate, there's no lockbox on it. I'm going to be there and open the property. Maybe the seller is going to be there, or you can say, hey, there's going to be a super lockbox, and etc. Showing arrangement. Maybe the seller is going to walk you around, and who knows, maybe they're going to be lurking over your shoulder, but this is just kind of a disclosure disclaimer to say, hey, I'm going to accompany, the seller is going to accompany if that's your certain circumstance. You can also request a callback for the showing agent. Like I said, maybe like Bernice's door has a janky back door handle and they just want you to call before you access the property. Now, I also can send a message after the request has been approved. So I just said something like, help yourself to cold water. Please set the AC to 75. Maybe that'll change once the season changes. And then lock that back patio before leaving. I also included a CVS code that I have, because again, this is not going to show for anybody until the showing request has been approved, and then it will send off these additional instructions. So that is going to be require approval. Again, I can choose instant approval. It's just going to send these instructions right away. It's instant, it says immediately, you're good to go. I got your little message that said you're coming, so cool, that's great with me. The next section allows me to involve somebody in my office. So like the messages area, that's where you can include someone just for an individual request, just kind of like a one-off thing saying, oh, I can't make it, something came up. In this circumstance, maybe I do have like a transaction coordinator. Maybe this is like a rental property and there's someone in my office that helps with those, and I just want them to be involved with these requests. Absolutely, I can add in any member from my office. And whenever you add a team member, they always have access to view those showing details. They can approve and decline showing requests at any time. They can communicate with anybody within that thread. So again, they have all those same permissions. But when you are adding someone, you have this option to notify them, yes or no. Maybe you do want to notify them and bug them and say, hey, there's something for you to look at, please check it out. Or maybe you just decide to say, you can view it at your leisure. I know that you can look at it at your own time. Really up to you, whatever your kind of managing style is for that. Team instructions, very similar to that individual showing, but this will show for every single showing that comes up for this listing. I haven't thought of any good team instructions that I might want to put in here as a listing agent, so I'm just going to put in like, you rock. Let all my team know that they're awesome. That's good with me. Seller or tenant involvement. So yes, we do have an option, much like showing time, for the option of an owner, a seller to be involved. So I already have one in here. If you didn't have one already, you can always enter in their information. You'll see if I start to enter in a name, I can add a new user, first, last name, phone number, email address. Pretty simple, pretty standard. Now, once they are added in here, I have 3 different ways on how I can have them involved with these requests. I can have them approve those showings. So just by whatever email and phone number that I had entered there, it will send them a text or an email that they can approve or decline those requests. Maybe I don't want to give them full control to approve or decline, but I still want them to know that someone's coming in their property. So maybe I just want to send out that notification, but they, don't get that control of saying, oh, yes, they're approved or no, they're not. Otherwise, I can just set them as none. This is not going to send out any kind of communication to them. It's really just going to hold their information in here for your organizational purposes. Time and date restrictions. So this looks very messy. I'm just going to remove these out of here and show you a couple examples of how you can add in restrictions. I feel like this page is very flexible, very fluid. I think it works a little bit nicer than showing time. So I'll do a couple examples. As far as time or date restrictions go, I'm going to start with a reoccurring restriction. Maybe, this is an occupied property and the seller has a baby that takes a nap between 12 and 2 every day. Okay. Is this an all-day restriction? No, I can say, between 12 and 2, it's unavailable. Okay. So if I add that restriction, you'll see it just looks a little bit messy on this page. I can also do reoccurring restrictions. Maybe my seller says, well, I don't want anybody in the property before 9 in the morning. Okay, well, again, it's not all day. So let's do from the beginning of the day, midnight to, 9 a.m., whatever I said, 9 a.m. And maybe they say, well, I don't want anybody coming in after like 7:30. Okay, well, let's add another restriction to do 7:30 p.m. to the end of the very day, and then add in that restriction. You can also add one-off restrictions. So specific dates, maybe they say, oh, Saturday, I'm having some work done to the property. All right, so if it's all day, then it can be all day. You can do multiple times within that day. I also like that you can choose multiple dates on the calendar. So maybe my seller works from home and they say, hey, every once in a while I have clients over for a business meeting and I can't have people running through the property when that's happening. Okay. Well, maybe they say, oh, you know what, on the 9th, on the 18th, and the 6th, I have meetings and nobody can be there from 11 to 3. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and just do that 11 to 3 o'clock and add that restriction. So it's very, very, very flexible with the restrictions. I think this is a little bit nicer than showing time. I think it's just a little clunky in there. So our last section for your feedback survey. So you can ask showing agents for their feedback once they're finished. It's just an option for yes or no. There's also the option to use the MLS default survey. So Aligned Showings has created these pre-made questions that say, did your client like the property? How did they think it was priced? Are they considering an offer, et cetera, et cetera? You can review them here. If you want to make your own questions, that's also an option. So you can say, no, I don't want to use the MLS default survey. I have my own burning questions I want to ask. So I can create a brand new survey from here. And I can enter as many questions as I want to. I can do a multiple choice or a short answer. So if I want them to type in their own custom response of what they thought, that's an option. Multiple choice, I like this because you can do like a yes, no, unsure. You can do a true or false. You can also add like 5 options. Just do like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and say, hey, give me a rating of the property. So you can really customize what you can do with these questions. So I'm going to click done, and that will be the end of me changing my listing setup. Now I do want to show you, I hope I can kind of show you the other side of things if I have an appointment here. I just want to show you what it looks like when you actually send a request. Well, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to request a showing on my own listing, kind of goofy, but I just want to show you that as the listing agent, once you do receive a request that says, hey, someone wants to access your property, I just want to give you a sneak peek as to what that looks like. Okay, so great. So here I have those options for approve or decline. Again, if you have those text messages, emails set up, I highly recommend it just so you don't have to worry about popping into here into Aligned Showings. So approve. This will pull up all of those same instructions that you initially set when you were setting up the listing. So you have lockbox information to say the CBS code, etc. You can customize this. If you have like one-off instructions that you want to add for this one time, totally do it. If you go to the decline option, it does have some kind of pre-made reasons as far as, oh, well, the time wasn't available or whatever the scenario was. You can also do your own kind of custom message in here to say, oh, this is a one-off thing, or so just please re-request, something came up, whatever your reasoning is, you can send that off. I'm going to go ahead and just approve. I just want you to kind of see how this looks. So once I approve and send that off, it does send that additional message to everybody in the thread. The showing status is now approved. So that request is good to go. Before I move on into routes, I do just want to answer some questions that I see coming through the chat here. So mapping, and let me see where I left off. Can you customize the feedback? Yes, I love that you can. Can you use both? So I saw a couple of questions as far as, can you use both aligned showings and showing time for your listings? You can only use one or the other. So for one particular listing, I have to choose to say, well, I want to use this or I want to use this. Now, like I said, if you have multiple listings, you can say, oh, well, I want 2 to use aligned showings and 3 to use showing. It's up to you. Maybe you like showing time right now and you just kind of want to get a feel for aligned showings and just want to switch one over to give it a shot. You can, but I think that would be a little bit hard to juggle on your side, but it's totally up to you. However, yeah, you can only have one showing service used per listing. When do you expect the majority of agents to switch over to the system? That's a great question. So like I said, this is very highly dependent on listing agents adopting it. However, new listings going forward are defaulted to aligned showings. So I'm actually curious myself. I know that last Tuesday, a week ago, we had just test listings in here. And now we have 940 listings. So you'll see that as time kind of goes on and new listings come on the market with this new showing service, there's going to be more and more aligned showings and less of showing time. Is that the only spot for CBS code? Yes, that's going to be the best place where you can enter it, just to hold it off for it to be sent after it's been approved. Do you have to do this for every showing, or are there default settings you can select? I love this option, or this question, because currently, no, there are not default selections that you can choose and then have that set for everything going down the line. That's definitely something that I've brought up to the developers and said, hey, well, it should really be this. I don't want to have to select that every single time. So at the moment, yes, you will have to change it for each listing, but it's totally on the developer's list. I've made them aware. It's going to be a change of ours. Their info is not visible to other side, correct? Yes. So as far as if you add a seller or a tenant, their information is not shown to the showing agent. I will point out though that I'll go to like a message here. So I know this is kind of goofy because I requested a showing on my own listing, but my team here is going to be like the listing team, and the showing team is the showing team. Only members of the listing team can see the seller or tenant. So just keep that in mind, that you can see who's involved with the showing here. I also like that if you click on this and go to the contact option, there's an option to copy this appointment link. And if I paste that into like a new tab, this is basically what the seller sees when they want to view their requests. For any new one that they're just now receiving, they'll have a big option for, the green and red approve or decline. They have those similar options. But yeah, they can come in here and say, okay, here are the pending option or pending appointments that I have. These are the approved ones, etc. So if you want to get a sneak peek, an easy way to do so. A couple other questions. Can you send an actual new showing time option if the requested time does not work? Yes. Sometimes it can be subtle change, but showing time doesn't allow you to send back a requested change the buyer's agent can approve. approve. So I think that you're just asking if you can modify the appointments, like the time or the date, if anything changes, if something doesn't work. If that's the case, then everybody is notified and the showing agent can approve that new time. If that doesn't answer your question, please go ahead and put something else in the chat for me. Let's see. I was setting up a showing when I got this invitation and went to align automatically. I already trained my client on showing time. I tried to change it. And still shows in aligned showings. So I know that if you have chosen showing time for your listing in FlexMLS, you may still see it here in aligned showings. However, the big difference is that you won't be able to modify any of those settings, because if you chose showing time or no showing service, then this will be set to no. And then all of your settings are kind of pretty dismal and then nothing's really there for the page that you can modify. And then we also had that question for, can you allow requests of an inspection and appraisal? Yeah, so when you're sending those requests, it will ask if it's like a normal showing, a walkthrough, an appraisal, inspection, etc. All right, so I know that we're getting a little short on time, so I really do want to jump into that routes option before we end. So let's go ahead and jump it back to FlexMLS. I think this is where we're used to starting our day and working within the system for listings. So I have a client that maybe has, 5 properties that they want to go see this weekend. Okay, sure, absolutely. So maybe I have like a saved search already. Maybe I have this collection where, I just happen to save a couple of properties that my client was interested in. And so this is the big difference that's going to happen, just kind of a temporary thing. We know it's not the most fun for now, but just as temporary, keep in mind that yes, maybe out of these 5 listings, one of these listing agents said, well, I still want to use showing time. So just keep that in mind. Now, as I go through what I would recommend, just to this is kind of like our workaround for organizing things. So let's say that I come to this listing and I see, okay, well, they wanted to use aligned showings. I can see that right here. So I'm just going to check the little checkbox for it. I'll go to the next one and see that, okay, they're also using aligned showings. I'll check that one. This one, they're using aligned showings. This one, oh, it was showing time earlier this morning. Maybe they flipped it over. But I just want to show you, I'm going to keep that one unselected for now. So I'm just going to pretend that they're still using showing time and that's what they wanted to do. But my client wanted to go on a tour of all these. So I'm going to select all of the listings that are using aligned showings. And I'm going to come to the upper right to the 3 dots and choose aligned showings here. And this will start a route for me, or AKA like the showing cart. As far as a name goes, I don't know, maybe this is Benny's showings in September. Call whatever you want. The date, maybe they said, okay, well, this Friday I'll be free. Oh, and it looks like once I changed it to Friday, I got this restriction that said, hey, this listing cannot be shown that day. Well, shoot. So let me choose another day to show you. And I don't know, we'll start at about 11 o'clock. Sure. Oh, and this is one of those weird test listings. So I get an error because it's in Yuma and it's not found on the map. But you'll see here that it shows starting at 11. I can choose my duration. So here I can say, okay, well, we're only planning on 15 minutes here. This one's a bigger property, so it's 30 minutes. However, I see that when I click on this one, this has a couple of restrictions on it. So I see that's not available from 12 to 2. So I just want to make sure that for this showing that, hey, it's not within that time. It has to be before or after. As I go here, you can see that as I click on each listing, it will show me any kind of requests that are going on or any restrictions for that time. As far as this page goes, I really want you to just focus on the duration. Just to say, I plan on being in here for 20 minutes. This is a bigger property, maybe 20. Maybe this one has hidden doorways and needs to be 45. Who knows? So I really just want you to focus on the duration for now. I'm going to create and schedule. This is all still like kind of a pre-planning phase. Oh, and this is that weird test one. I'm just going to remove it because it can't be found. So I have these 3 properties that are using aligned showings. Now I don't want to leave out that showing time one, of course. So let's go back to FlexMLS and request just a single showing through showing time. So I would come here, click on showing time, send my request just as I would normally. If it gets declined, then, screw it. You can forget about it. If it gets approved, well, let's move it over into aligned showings and organize it. So you're going to need the address or the MLS number. This isn't a real property, so I'm just going to enter some fake something out in Yuma here. Non-MLS stop. So when I add a stop, I can do a new appointment, which is requesting through MLS or aligned showings. But I'm going to do a non-MLS stop, or in this case, we're going to pretend it's just for those showing time ones. An address. So again, I don't know the exact address. I'm just going to enter like the ARMLS office in Tempe. Let's go ahead and enter that there. Add it as a stop. And you'll see it does include the travel time. So, all of my test listings are way out in Yuma, but the stop I added was in Tempe. So it does include the travel time, just so you can see, okay, if I overlap these, I can, maybe I decide to organize things because I might be out of that first showing earlier than expected. But again, as far as adding stops go and choosing your time, I really want you to focus on the duration. Maybe this was an extra stop because this is your client's address and you're going to pick them up there. You're going to spend 30 minutes going over some things at their house. So I'm just going to add the stop. And that's a crazy route here, as you can see. Now, you'll also see that if I add a stop and do a non-MLS, I love within aligned showings, if I type in Starbucks, I don't have to know an address of a Starbucks. It's going to pull up Starbucks that are along this route. So it's not going to pull up, a Starbucks in Peoria. It's going to pull up something that's already on my route. I don't have to think about, the address of where we're stopping for lunch. I just need to know what it's called. Again, I know this seems really clunky and you might want to rearrange things the way that you want to, but my recommendation, focus on your duration. Starbucks, maybe we're spending a whole hour in there to get it started. I'm just adding stops for now because you'll see that my favorite thing within this route is the fastest route. Much like showing time where you can do the smartest route, it just says, hey, where do you want to start? Well, maybe we're going to start at Starbucks. Let's calculate that route. It will do the smartest route. It may not be the way that you love, but it's technically the smartest, fastest route. So you'll see that here, my first stop, 60 minutes for Starbucks, and we have 6 minutes to travel to the next stop. I have 15 minutes to this appointment and then 51 minutes to travel. Now, keep in mind that nothing has been actually sent yet. And I'm going to remove this one just because there's something at that time. But nothing has been sent yet. So I want to make sure that I do request these appointments in the upper right once I'm ready to now send those listing agents a request to say, hey, I want to show your property. It does send an individual message. So if I ever need to follow up, if I have something to say to somebody individually, I can do so in the messages. Otherwise, I can always view my routes area, go to my routes here. Maybe I'm ready to go on the tour with the client. I can share it to a clipboard. They can see the Google Map area. However, I want to show you that if you're using the app, this is probably my favorite thing. They make it very easy that if you are using the map and you're on mobile, well, hey, you can just navigate to the next stop. Super easy. You don't have to worry about Google Maps and rearranging things. Just pull up your phone, go navigate to the next stop. So I know that we're running a little bit late on time. I'm going to hang out just in case anybody has any questions, but I do want to just bring us back to ARMLS.com to finish things off today, especially because this is your main learning and training resource. So if you're ever stuck, if you're in a pickle, if you ever need help of any kind, this is the place to go. Not only does it have the ARMLS phone number, but my favorite place is going to be under the support tab. It's the ARMLS blog. I highly, highly recommend to sign up for it if you're not already. Nothing too crazy. You get 1 email a week, maybe twice, but Nothing too crazy, but I love it because they're short, sweet, and simple. And I can search by any kind of a keyword. You know, maybe my client says, what the heck is this thing in the portal? What's this news feed that you set me up with? I don't understand. Like I said, they're short, sweet, and simple. I can read this in 3 to 4 minutes, get back into the system and get along with my day. I'm not taking up 20 minutes watching a training video. I'm not taking up an hour taking a training class. It's short, sweet, and simple. I also just want to show you guys that under the MLS tab here, we have this new page for aligned showings. This does have some really good resources as far as some quick videos. So if you want more specifics of how to use that calendar, if you're an admin, what are some good to know things for an admin? Definitely check that out. Like I said, I'm going to hang out just in case anybody has any questions. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for the engagement. I love that you all popped in and could really get the first peek of this new product before anyone else. So I'm going to hang out in case you have questions, but otherwise, thank you all so much for attending.
And thank you from me too, you guys. Like I said, I'll follow up with everybody with an email and I can send you the recording.
All right, great. So a couple of things here. Oh, yes, I wanted to show you those notifications. So let me go into my main settings here. So when you do access aligned showings for the first time, I'd probably recommend popping in this page just to verify that your email, your phone number are correct. Ideally, it should be. It populates from the MLS, but I would double check this. This is where you can receive those email notifications, those text notifications. So really, you don't ever have to worry about coming into aligned showings. You can just get that text, get that email, and work through your day just like how you're normally working through it. As far as the notifications for the app goes, once you download the app, it should automatically ask you if you want those push notifications. If you maybe disabled those, you might have to go into your phone's settings to enable them again. Can you manually adjust location for the commute for new construction, where maybe you use coordinates as opposed to an address? Yes, that's a great question. So let me go back to my routes area, and I'm just going to open up a route that I have here. I don't know. So let's just kind of pretend that I have some lot that I want to go to. So if I go and add a stop here, again, I can add any stop, whether it's a actual listing or a non-MLS. I don't know if it will need exact coordinates. Like you might need to do a neighboring property. Let's play around here. Let's take a peek. So I do see it will pull up like, you know, surrounding area suggestions for you. But yeah, that's a great question. If there isn't like an address assigned to the lot yet, that's a good question. However, maybe I know where the lot is. I don't know. Let's just add that one in Tempe as an example here. So if I zoom in on the map, I see that, okay, that's my quote unquote lot. Maybe that's not where it actually is. Maybe I know that it's over in this corner. If I go to reorder the route, I can kind of adjust this to say, oh, I'm actually going to need a little bit more travel time to get to the property, or, oh, I don't need that much travel time to get there. That's probably my best suggestion of how to do it. As you can see, apparently there's not a great way if you don't have exact coordinates. However, if you have a listing of that property and that property is, you know, located and pinpointed on the map, it will automatically pull it in from there. So if you're working off of like a land and lot listing in here, you can, that's my recommendation. Start from here, request the aligned showing appointment this way, and then it will just pinpoint wherever it said that was located. That's a great question though. I'm definitely going to bring it up to the developers on that. Let's see. I still don't see showing time on my new listing. Okay, Karen, let me go ahead and take a look at this one here. 9967. So it looks like you have so you want to use showing time on it. So I do see showing time here. I know that it can take a little bit for it to finally save in Flex MLS and then have everything, you know, marry up to showing time and sync up. It can take about 5 to 10 minutes. So I see that this is a brand new listing. It might have just taken a little bit of time. What area? Oh, this is just for me. I'm not an actual agent. I just have a test listing in here. So no area that I actually service. How can I switch my current listing to Aligned? Yeah, I would love to show you this. So if you have a current listing on the market and you want to switch it over, let's go into the main menu and choose change listing. This is kind of my way to get there. There's a couple different ways that you can get there, but I like going this way. And then enter your MLS number. Oh gosh, and I don't even remember what my MLS number is. Yours should actually just pop up there, but because I'm staff, my page looks a little weird here. So you ideally should just be able to click on your listing and edit it or enter the MLS number. So once you're here, let's go into the listing information and then go into the details tab. The details is the dreaded tab that has all of these checkbox selections and is just crazy and makes you want to fall asleep. What I like to do is just go to the very bottom. So I'm just going to go all the way down, very bottom of the details page. And then I'm going to start to scroll up. I think that's probably the easiest way to find it. And I'm looking for like a little red text. Here we go. That says showing service. So that's the one that you do want to switch over to Aligned Showings. Once you save the change, it can take a little bit, 3 to 5 minutes for everything to properly save and sync up. But then afterwards, you'll be able to modify everything in Aligned Showings. Make sure you say if you need approval or if you want to add a CBS code, add a seller, or any of that. But this is your first step. So that's a great question. We also had my office address is incorrect in the settings and it will not allow me to change it. Oh, so I know that if you are in your settings and you are seeing a different address than your office, we already have a ticket in there. We're seeing some sporadic, I don't know, not great transferring of data there, but we already have a ticket in there. So the developers are working on that as we speak. So it's nothing that you did. Trust me, it's not you. It's us on that one. One thing showing time doesn't have is where you can click on the MLS number and go straight to Flex MLS. Will Aligned Showings be able to do that now that it is ARMLS owned? Yeah, that's a good question. So if I am in Aligned Showings and I want to look at the listing data for these, you'll first see that, yeah, I don't want to save my changes. I'll just leave. So you'll see that if I'm looking at any one of these showing requests or any of the appointments that I have, so let's go to that one that I requested earlier. So I said, hey, I want to see the property. If I want to view the details at any time, at the top, I can click on view listing, and that will bring me over to the MLS detail sheet to view the photos and etc. So I really like that you can kind of go back and forth. It's easy to see the information of the listing from Aligned Showings. And even if you're in the app, again, you can just click on the listing information and it will populate over to the Flex app. What if you're scheduling a showing for a buyer and the listing is not using Aligned Showings? Do you have to set showing through showing time? Yes. So this kind of just falls into, overall rules of the MLS. Just making sure that you do follow whatever showing instructions that the listing agent prefers. Every scenario is a little bit different. Some properties are vacant and they say, oh, just pop in, send me a text message, and that's good with me. Some listing agents, they say, this is an occupied property. I need a 3-hour notice before anyone comes in. So it's really up to the listing agent. They kind of choose whether, they want to use Aligned Showings or showing time to manage their appointments. However, on your side, if you're the buyer's agent, again, that's where I recommend just text message or email. As long as you have that set up, it doesn't matter if you're requesting through showing time or through Aligned Showings, you'll just get that text message that says, hey, you've been approved. And you don't have to pop in and see, oh, well, which one were they using? Don't mess around with all that. Do they have a tech support number? Great question. So if I'm already in aligned showings and I go to the support tab, you'll see that it reaches the ARMLS support phone number. So we are their tech support team. We're available 6 days a week during normal business hours. Absolutely happy to help with any questions that you do have. And it's great because, yeah, we have knowledge of, the MLS and the showing product. So, if you have issues with transferring or things not showing right, we're definitely more than happy to help. Also, while I'm here, I'd love to point out that if you do have feedback, there is an option to submit that here. If you say, hey, I love something in showing time, I don't see it, but I want it, let us know. We have a little bit more control over this and we want to make it the best product that it can be. Let's see, how do you update your contact information in Aligned? So if I am in the settings here, this first area, you'll see that I can't edit it. It doesn't allow me to change this. This automatically pulls over from what we have on your profile. Now, like I said, we are having a couple of issues with the address not showing correctly. But if for some reason you see that, I don't know, your last name is like your, maiden name or something like that, update with that with your local association and it kind of just trickles down from there. Can I be signed up for both? So as a buyer's agent, you may be forced to use both. Again, it's really up to the listing agent to say, well, I want you to use this or use that. So as a buyer's agent, you might end up having to use both until showing time goes away. As a listing agent, you can use both if you want to, just not at the same time for one listing. So you can have one listing with one service, the other with another service, but you can't have both at the same time for one listing. We also have, as a co-listing agent, is there a way I can go in and modify my active listings, or can it only be the main listing agent? So as a co-listing agent, if again, everything starts in the main listing in FlexMLS, if that's set as aligned showings, then the listing agent, the co-listing agent, they're automatically placed in this My Listings area. And you'll see that, like, for instance, my listing here, I have myself. Wendy, she might have been like my co-listing agent. And then Dan, maybe he's a transaction coordinator. Maybe he's just my personal admin. Who knows what he is, but I decided to add him to be involved. One thing that I really like about this is that, let's say that I added Wendy here. She's my co-lister. One thing that's really great is that, well, once Wendy logs into her own account in aligned showings and she goes to My Listings, it's going to have her name. She's going to see all of the listings that she has, but because I've added her as a team member, she'll be able to come up to this upper left corner and say, oh, I want to see Natalie's listings, or I want to see who's ever's listing. So you can see that me under my account, I have access to Chelsea's listings. So they have 3 on the market right now, but I see that they've only added me as a team member to 2 of them, because this first one, I can't click on it. I can't edit it. I can't modify it. But these other 2, there's a little pencil in the upper right. So that's how I know that I can come in here and I can edit any of those details, because I have been added as a team member to be involved here. So yeah, I can come in here and I can add a nude restriction. I can add the seller in here. I can kind of manage all of the settings in here for the main listing agent. What does it look like from the seller's perspective for receiving showing requests via text? I think you copied it. Yes, so as far as what they receive in text form, so I'm going to go back to my messages here and I'll pull up some example that does have a seller or tenant. So if I click on the contact option, there is this like appointment link. It's just like a link and it gets copied. So if I open that here, it's basically what they see on mobile. So when they open it up on their phone, it looks just like this. It's, formatted a little bit skinnier, so it's, nicer to look at. But they still have the options to choose, oh, well, I want to see appointments that maybe were declined, and maybe I need to ask the agent why they declined. Who knows? So they can see the requests here. The one thing that's different is that if you did set up that permission to like have them approve those requests, whenever they click on that link, it's going to have the big red and green buttons that say approve or decline, where they can, approve or decline for that one request. The seller tenant information is not shown on the other side. Yes, yes, yes. So, for instance, I came in here and yeah, I see the seller or tenant, but the showing agents, no, they won't be able to see them. They won't be able to even like communicate with them. So you'll see that, if I'm in here as the showing agent and this is Bernice's listing, Bernice may have a seller or tenant added, but I just can't see them. I can't communicate with them. It's just for, approving or declining if that's the situation. And then I did get a little private message in here of requesting a one-on-one, and that's an option. We have training opportunities where we'll come out to your office. One-on-ones, absolutely. You pay for your products, you pay for the MLS services. We just want to make sure that you know how to use them. So all of our trainings are free. Support is always available for how-tos if you need specific steps on anything. We're really here to help with anything that you might have. Let's see what else we had. Great. Well, I think those were the only questions that I saw come in. I saw a lot of thank yous, and I thank you right back. I really appreciate you all for coming. I think that it's great that you kind of got the first peek into here. I'll also throw in the chat. I do want to just send everyone my email just in case, it's an hour down the line, 2 weeks down the line, and you're like, oh gosh, I remember her saying something, but I don't exactly remember the process and I need help. Send me an email, please. Absolutely do so. I feel like I don't get enough emails from you guys, so please don't be shy. I'm really always here to help. If you don't have any questions, you're more than welcome to sign off. I know that we kind of went over today's time, but I really appreciate you sticking around if you did. I know I'm the kind of person likes to hear what other kind of questions people have. So if you stuck around, thank you so much. But I don't see any further questions coming through. Kelly, I don't know if you want to end today's session, but please, if you have questions, send me an email at any time. And thanks for joining today.
Yep, if we're all done, guys, I'm going to turn it off. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you, Natalie. You were amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care and have a good one.
Bye, guys.